this time in Missouri. Republican Senator Kit Bond, the state's lead Republican on the Intelligence Committee, joins us now. Let's talk about health care first. Senator, good day. Welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, Andrea. Good to talk with you.
Well, where do we stand with health care? It's quite obvious that the House vote, the next step is going to be a nail biter. But assuming that the House proceeds, do you think that the Senate will go by reconciliation, by majority vote, and do the fixes that are recommended by the Democratic leadership?
Simple answer, no. We're not going to use reconciliation to try to clear up a flawed bill. The president has come to Missouri to try to tell us that we don't understand what's good for us. And Missourians have shown me, and they show me state, they don't want the tax and spend and Medicare cutting bill. So I hope the president would listen, but apparently he's just going to talk in Missouri.
Well, when you come to the decision point in the Senate, you're going to be campaigning against the fixes, including stripping out the fix for Louisiana and the Cornhuskers deal and all those other deals. Is that a good political position to be in, arguing against all of those things that were obviously exorbitant and ought to be, most people would say, stripped from the bill?
Well, first of all, the president shouldn't get his allies to cram through on reconciliation, something to which the American people overwhelmingly object. They overwhelmingly object to it. Reconciliation was never meant to pass major substantive changes, whether they're trying to make a bad bill slightly less worse. No matter how much paint you put on the outhouse, it still will smell bad.
Well, that may be a great Missouri expression, but that same outhouse was used for the Bush tax cuts and for other major legislation in Republican years. Why shouldn't the Democrats do exactly what Republicans have been doing?
Major legislation that was passed on reconciliation, everything from the civil rights to Social Security, was passed with overwhelming bipartisan support. Reconciliation was meant to deal only with revenue issues, like dealing with taxes or spending, not making substantive changes, which the Speaker is trying to convince the House Democrats will be made. They will not be made because procedurally it cannot be done.
Well, let me switch you to the other one of the other many areas of your expertise, and that is, of course, intelligence. You are the lead Republican on the Intelligence Committee. There's a big division among conservative Republicans and former Bush-Cheney lawyers, in fact, over Liz Cheney's group and the Al-Qaeda 7 nomenclature in that advertisement that she used against the Justice Department. Now, you're the Justice Department lawyers who have in the past in private practice done pro bono work for detainees. You're a former Attorney General in Missouri. Where do you stand on this?
I'm not a former Attorney General, but number one, we need to go past the rhetoric. And while I, as a lawyer, know that attorneys are supposed to represent their clients, I think everybody in the Senate and in the nation should be concerned about the attitude of the Department of Justice. We've seen Attorney General Holder favor treating these terrorists, these enemy combatants, as common criminals. We want to make sure that the Justice Department understands that after 9/11, they should be treated as enemy combatants, not as civilian criminals.
But where do you stand, and I apologize, I forgot, of course, you were the governor in Missouri, not the Attorney General. Where do you stand on the whole question of whether that advertisement went too far? Did it demonize these lawyers? Did it cross the line in suggesting that lawyers, as attorneys, shouldn't be representing any number of clients, different types of clients, whether they be in the criminal arena, whether they be other types of terror suspects? Where do you come down on that? Because there,
I think. Go ahead. Excuse me.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Well, first, I certainly wouldn't have said that. I think the approach of the Department of Justice is a legitimate question. we should address. But both sides have done it, whether it's questioning the citizenship of the president. I believe that's out of bounds. In the previous administration, people came out and said, Bush lied and people died. That was a major Democrat marching point that was totally beyond the realm. And calling General Petraeus a General Betrayus was totally uncalled for. And I think that everybody should reject that kind of overheated rhetoric.
On both sides?
Both sides. Both sides are guilty, and I think both sides ought to stop that kind of treatment. I didn't see the Democrats retreating from their side, but I hope that Republicans and Democrats say that we ought to debate the issues, not the extreme name calling.
Fair enough. Kit Bond, thank you very much, the
Thank you,
former
Andrea.
governor of Missouri. Good to see
Thanks.
you. And with us now, NBC News White House correspondent and co-host of the Daily Rundown, Savannah Guthrie. Savannah, let's talk about health care.